He's one of Europe's top experts on digital branding, and we genuinely are in for a real treat today. So everybody, I think you need to hold tight, prepare for a roller coaster ride of creativity and insight as we welcome Dietmar Dahmen to the stage.
I think you have things like Zipcart or Car2Go here. And I think those things, why are they so successful? Because where is the car in reality, in my user experience? The car in my user experience is on my phone. I see where the car is on my phone. Then I push the button, then I walk down the street to get the actual car, but the job is done in my head on my phone. As long as it says car is reserved for you, my job is done, I'm very, very happy. Why is Uber so successful? We heard this morning, where you can call the cabs and stuff like that, and the limousines, because they are on your phone. You have to go to the street, but it's basically a service that starts in your pocket. Think, how can you make your brand digital in a point of view that the user experience becomes mobile? Mobile is everywhere. It's not just mobile devices. We start to wear technology. We all know this. All those watches, all those glasses, all those other things and stuff like that. We have smart shirts that basically just measure our heart rate and body temperature. I personally like this. It's a handmade jewelry that lights up when the fiancé is nearby. Which to me is very much like the weapon that lights up when the orcs are near. So we read those kind of things. I don't know if you all know Nikomimi, if it's big here. Yeah. Nikomimi basically measures your brain waves. You can see it a little bit better here. And when I go back to her because she looks better, but it's here you can see it's those, just those points on your brain. And when you pay attention, the ears go up. And when you don't pay attention, the ears go down. It's a relatively trivial thing, but what people did 5 months after it was invented, they connected Nekomimi to wheelchairs for extremely handicapped people, for instance. So if you can't go like this anymore, you can still think, and you can move into the sun or the shade or whatever you want to do. So big, big changes. There's things like Miko. I don't know if you know Miko. Miko basically measures your brain waves, and then it selects music that represents your mood. So if things like that are happening right now, that basically means that service can be individualized by actually measuring things like body temperature, vitamins and things like that. I don't know if you eat muesli. Do you have muesli here? Okay. If you can individualize your muesli, currently you add goji berries or not, depending on your taste. But what if if the shirt says you have vitamin B12 deficiency, please add goji berries to your muesli? That's a really vital information, and you might do that. What if a brainwave actually later gives you wish lists for Christmas gifts and stuff like that? We are seeing that we're at the dawn of those things. It's blooming. It's not in big full bloom yet, but things like that are appearing. And all those things are generating data like crazy. We all know that 90% of the data ever created is less than 2 years old. That's a lot of data being created. So the question really quick is, what is big data? And I do it in a very simple way. The way I cluster it is, first, there are known knowns, things that we know them. Long-term data, like where the wind blows. If the wind blows in the red areas and not in the green areas, where do you put windmills? In the red area, right? Known knowns are also things that are statistically relatively solid. And if the information is statistically solid, you can move from real time to before time. For instance, a friend of mine plays golf, and a friend of mine was playing golf, and then he got this message on his mobile phone that said, according to your handicap, we assume that, and the number of golf balls you ordered with us last time, we assume that you're running out of golf balls right now, or very soon. Would you like to reorder? And it was a big button shaped like a golf ball, and he said, yes, I will. Boof, and he pushed the button. So the data predicted that he will run out of golf balls relatively soon. It was a good service for him. He pushed the button, job done. The smart thing about that, in addition, is that it used geolocation. Because if you're at the golf course, it's a very good information. If you're in church or at a funeral, your mind is probably not ready to reorder golf balls. So that's a really good thing that you can deduct from known knowns. Then there's unknown knowns, things that we don't know that we know them. A lot of unknown knowns, like a very famous one is the correlation, not between hurricanes and flashlights, everybody knows that, but between hurricanes and Pop-Tarts. And the reason we didn't know that is because nobody correlated that. So the reason, the effect is that if there's a hurricane, you will sell a lot more Pop-Tarts. But nobody ever said, can you correlate Pop-Tarts and wind speed, Joe? But machines can do that all the time. You just give them all the data and they correlate stuff like crazy. And you find out things that you didn't even know existed, like, I don't know, the correlation between the length of swim trunks and hair length or whatever. So you can correlate all kinds of things, and that can be very, very valuable information for you. Then there's known actions, stuff that we know that we do it, like tweeting and doing Facebook things and stuff like that, or Googling certain information. You might know that Google Flu is a really big tool to basically see where the flu is hitting, and Google Flu goes down to parts of the city. So you can actually say, okay, Western London is already hit, but Central London not yet, and then it will hit Central London, the flu will hit Central London in 2 hours, and then the pharmacist can actually put the flu medication on the counters so it's easier for you to get it. It's really, really precise. And that is information because people Google that kind of stuff, and they know that they do it. So it's known actions. The tricky thing, however, is unknown actions. Unknown actions is relatively tricky. That's all stuff like geolocation. We all know that we are here, but we don't know that everybody knows that we are here. And if you're here right now, I can totally correlate that with what event is happening. Sitecore digital Trendspot. I can probably correlate with where you work, find out that you work in the digital business. So you don't have to be Clouseau or some super brain inspector to find that out. It's relatively obvious. So I can deduct from things like that if you have a new job. Oh, you used to be here all the time, now you're there. Then I correlate that with your credit card spendings. Oh, better job. Then if I'm BMW, hey, you probably want a bigger BMW right now. So I can profile really, really well with things like that. We heard about Netflix this morning. Netflix knows when you rewind, fast forward, or what you search, or when you pause. And if you rewind, brain splattering against a wall 5 times, and I ask you, do you like violent films? No. I like educational programs. Who do I trust? You know, I trust what you do. So, and then I can cater certain messages to you because of things that you do. So big data is lots of small data. But big data is not just having the data, but doing what you do with it. This is just data. This is a cartoon. And then you can make an experience, the same dots. You can cluster the cartoon, or you can make a little cat out of it, you know. So it's the same dots, but it depends on what you do with those things. But you have to be careful, because 82% of the global consumers think that companies collect too much data. I know that the UK and the US is very, very easy on data. Europe is a lot stricter. But I think it's also true. It's nice to be stricter, because the core idea of the European laws of conduct with data is that if you take data, you have to give something back. So the core idea is I trade data for service. And that is a trade. And you have to make that trade transparent and clear. So in Europe, you have to okay this trade. Yes, you can use my geolocation if I get a price offer walking next to a store. I'm happy if you do that. But don't just sell it to anybody. The exchange has to be fair. Geolocation for a price offer at Starbucks is good. All the data on your phone, including your friends, for a price offer at Starbucks is no good. It has to be fair. It has to be transparent. And you have to be able to opt out. So the theory right now, I think, is big service, yes. Big brother, no. We don't want control. The touch points become trust points. If you collect data, you have to be able to trust the company that they don't use it in a way that is disadvantageous to you. And you also have to remember, data can give you content, but data cannot tell a story. You tell the story. So if everybody has the same data and you know what everybody is doing and you know those things, you're very, very easily tempted to operate here, the zone of blah. To be one of the 6,000 messages, one of the 5,973 messages that nobody recognizes because they are not exciting enough. They are boring. They're too predictable. And then they kissed. And then he ripped her. Okay, this is talk there, much better. Try to find exciting material to talk about. Data gives you facts, but you make the decisions. It does not make the decisions, you make the decisions. I give you a very old example of facts and decisions, and that is Casio. 30 years ago, the Japanese watchmaker Casio noticed a horrible mistake. Casio was a watch for men. But data proved that large parts of the population were women. And they figured, oh my God, who are they? And they collected data on wrist size. And they asked for a small, slender watch for the delicate female wrist, for that new demographic. And then the designers looked at all the demographics, how small the women's are and how delicate their wrists are and stuff like that, and then they presented this. The biggest watch back then, and it sold more watches than there were women in Japan. And what did the designers think? The designers thought you looked at the wrong data. It is not about wrist size, it's about big size. Back then the cars were getting bigger, the bikes were getting bigger, the shoes were getting bigger. And they thought, why not a watch? Why not make a watch that's completely big? Because you do not buy the product, you buy the story. And we, all in this room, we now not just create stories that we like, we create stories that people like to talk about. And I like size, so, we were just talking about speakers for iPhones. Where's my friend from Copenhagen? Somewhere, there you are. Speakers for iPhones. What's the speaker for iPhone you talk about? This one, that's the iPhone. That's a 50,000 watt speaker for an iPhone. That's one peep of an iPhone speaker. Why was that invented? To make people talk about Father's Day in this particular case. It's a Scandinavian example. Nobody thought about Father's Day. Nobody knew that you're supposed to give tech gifts to your dad, so invented that so that people talk about that stuff. We talk about you have to create stories that people talk about. You also have to talk about stories that people create. If somebody does a crazy thing like that with a Jeep and you're a Jeep, talk about that story. We talked about fractal branding this morning, where the twig looks like the branch looks like the tree. That's Jeep in a nutshell. That one single picture is what Jeep is all about, being tough, being a guy, doing the impossible, not riding on the street. So whenever you have a photo or anything that you can share or that you see that other people use and use your brand in a good way, take that and share it with others. Tell the story and spread the stories that the other people are talking about. Stories spread value. Stories, obviously, content conversation. Value, spread, obviously, owned, earned, shared, and paid media. And value, obviously, brand value is company value. The brand makes the product interesting, not the product. The product can be copied. The brand cannot be copied that easy. That's why the brand, also where does the brand exist? The brand exists in the heart and the soul of your customers. So your customer are your most important asset. Your customers cannot be copied. Your customers cannot be 3D printed. A product can. So think about those things and make your brand and your customers your biggest asset and invest in those things, not just in products. Now we cut to stories. Everybody still happy? 30 minutes down, 20 minutes to go? Okay, boom.